Hey guys, welcome back to ROBREACTS. Now, what we're going to do is watch a video of Christopher Hitchens. Now, Christopher Hitchens was a fantastic debater and a strong atheist. He used to go around the world debating different religious figures, and here are some fantastic responses to some religious people's questions. So let's watch.
Let's just get away from religion and let's talk about God. I believe in God because I figure if I'm wrong, I won't know. I'm kind of like hedging my bets. Isn't that the way most people believe in God, is because they figure if they don't believe...
Can you see straight away, Christopher Hitchens he said he understands. He understands why people would believe it's better to hedge your bets, to believe just in case.
Believe it and they're wrong, they're screwed. If they believe it and they're right, they win.
That is what's known as Pascal's wager. Now, in my book, which you kindly featured, I restate the wager. I say, look, suppose I check out, and I've been wrong all along, and I'm suddenly in front of some chap who can sort of bar my way to the gates of paradise, where, of course, I want to go, because who wouldn't want to live for an eternity just praising God as if he was Kim Il-sung?
Mr.
Leave that to one side.
Christopher, we got to roll.
And he says, what the hell? And I say, look, you didn't give me enough evidence.
You got it.
Wouldn't he be nicer to me than if I'd been a hypocrite?
He's got a point, hasn't he? Surely, surely you need evidence to believe in something. And like you said, if he dies, and he sadly passed away from cancer, and even in the last days, he still didn't hope there's a God or whatnot. But he's right that until you get that evidence, at least he's not being a hypocrite. He's not almost pretending to believe just in the hope.
To Christopher is how you can justify wanting to take something away from people, from 95, that gives meaning to 95% of the American people, and replace it with something
just because it gives you meaning doesn't mean it's true.
5% of the American people.
Well, what an incredibly stupid question.
I love his ability to call out stupidity.
First, I've said repeatedly that this stuff cannot be taken away from people. It is their favorite toy, and it will remain so. As Freud said, in The Future of an Illusion, it will remain that way as long as we're afraid of death and have no problem, which is, I think, likely to be quite a long time. Second, I hope I've made it clear that I'm perfectly happy for people to have these toys and to play with them at home and hug them to themselves and so on and share them with other people who come around and play with the toys. So that's absolutely fine. They are not to make me play with these toys. Okay? I will not play with the toys. Don't bring the toys to my house. Don't say my children must play with these toys. Don't say my toys might be a condom. Here we go again. Are not allowed by their toys. I'm not going to have any of that. Enough with clerical and religious bullying and intimidation. Is that finally clear? Have I got that across? Thank you.
And on his point there, I think certainly in our country and especially in America, I feel that it's everywhere and it's forced upon you, whether that's politics. Politics, it's huge. If you say that you're an atheist, the chance of you getting voted in seems very slim. So you're forcing this religious belief on people. Just keep it to yourself. Religion shouldn't be affecting everything else in life.
Christopher, I've got to call you down on referring to circumcision as genital mutilation.
Well,
my son cried more at his first haircut than he did at his bris. And statistically,
you weren't doing it right then.
Statistically, the only long-term effect that it seems to have on people is it increases their chances of winning a Nobel Prize.
I can't find the compulsory mutilation of the genitals of children a subject for humour in that way, or flippancy in that way. Maimonides says
disgraceful that the rabbi would even make jokes like that.
To repress sexual pleasure, to deprive us, a male child as far as possible of the opportunity of that. The full excision, not just the snip or the full mandatory covenant is fantastically painful, leads to trauma, leads to the dulling of the sexual relationship, and can be in itself life-threatening at that moment. We have the records, I can show them to you, of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds in the United States of boy babies who've died or had life-threatening infections as a result of this disgusting practice. That a person as humane as yourself can sit here and think of that as a fit subject for humor shows what I mean. Religion makes morally normal people say and do disgusting and wicked things, and you've just proved my point, Frank. Shame on you for saying what you just said. Shame on you for saying it about your own son, my God.
Let's move on.
Yes, let's. What next? Cutting the labia of little girls. At least Judaism doesn't do that.
This is a question.
What if a Muslim was to say to you just now, my little girl cried more at her first haircut than when I cut off her clitoris? What would you think of me if I was to say such a disgusting thing?
Well,
remember, we are not talking about detail here. We're talking about whether religion makes people behave better or not.
How true is what he said? Why is it acceptable to do that to a young child, a young boy, but apparently it's not acceptable to do similar to a female? You know, in places like Africa, how is that so frowned upon and inhumane, but doing it to a young boy is acceptable? It's not acceptable. You know, it's I don't understand how it's been normalized. It's not on. But we carry on.
Whereas to tell a child, you go to this church, which means you'll go to heaven, but your little playmates don't go to that church, and therefore will go to hell, seems to me to be an unpleasant thing to be saying. But
yes, that is.
Maybe I'm in a minority then.
That could be an unpleasant thing, but how do you develop?
Actually, an evil thing.
Let's call it evil, Christopher.
That's something that only a religious person would dream of saying.
Let's call it evil. Where does evil come from?
Religion.
What more can I say? What more can I say? Where does evil come from? All people can do bad things. All people can do evil things. A lot of people do evil things in the name of God.
You know, I just wonder, you know, when you compare his life, you know, there are a lot of good atheist communists out there like Stalin and Mao and Pol Pot, and, you know, they slaughtered millions. Jerry Falwell slaughtered nobody in his life. He may have misspoke once or twice, but he devoted his life to his religion. You have nothing good to say about him at all?
No, I repeat, Jerry Falwell lived on hatred and superstition and bigotry. He preached dislike of people whose lives he knew nothing about. He raised money from credulous fools.
You don't know anything about his life.
Now, excuse me, sir. You can either ask me and ask my opinion, or you may not. But I don't have to be here if you're going to take that attitude.
Well, you could leave.
It's certainly a thing, and this is not specific to this video at all. But how many times, you know, you're asked a question, but they don't want to hear your answer? In just general life, how many times have you had that? You know, what's the point of asking a question if you don't want to hear the person's opinion or answer?
You spent the first half by saying I had no right to the opinion you'd asked me on to express. Now you're tiring me out. I repeat, though.
No, what I said is your opinion was thoughtless. What you wrote was crude and mean and hateful. That's what I said.
You took up all the time for my answer with your long, rather unlettered question. Oh, okay. Jerry Falwell just made...
to be an atheist, you have to believe that it is possible, which I think is a far greater leap of faith. That's something that can be created out of nothing. When you look at the majesty and sophistication and the intricacy of the universe that we do know and comprehend, you have to believe that somehow that this energy could have existed on its own, and I do not believe that is. That, to me, is a leap of faith.
You give me the awful impression, I hate to have to say it, of someone who hasn't read any of the arguments against your position ever.
Just because you can't prove something or prove the reason behind something, doesn't mean there isn't a reason. You can't just say, oh, because I don't understand it, it must be a higher power. That's what science is. Science doesn't get everything right all the time or straight away, but we're working on it. We're certainly working on it. You can't just because you don't understand it, don't just say, oh, it's God. Oh, these bad guys.
Now, I'm sorry, though, to have to begin by disagreeing with His Grace. If you're going to be a serious grown-up person and appear to defend the Catholic Church in public in front of an educated and literate audience, you simply have to start by making a great number of heartfelt apologies and requests for contrition and forgiveness. His Holiness on that occasion, it was March the 12th, 2000, if you wish to look it up, begged forgiveness for, among some other things, the Crusades, the Inquisition, the persecution of the Jewish people,
it's going to be a long list here.
Injustice towards women, that's half the human race right there, and the forced conversion of indigenous peoples, especially in South America. And that followed a whole series of preceding apologies, or apologies, I would say, of a kind, made by the late Pope John Paul, who, it troubles me not at all to say, was a very impressive and serious human being. It followed no less than 94, count them, public recognitions on his part of appalling crime and error and cruelty and stupidity and offences to the free intelligence, ranging from, I shall be summary. Like
but religious people have morality.
The African slave trade, apologised for in 1995.
And atheists don't, apparently.
The admission that Galileo was right about the relationship between the sun and the earth and other orbs, which came in 1992, one might add, and I won't say, it's too easy to say better late than never, here, I've said it. To violence and torture, legalized torture. Torture was legalized and institutionalized by the Roman pontiff during the Counter-Reformation. That came in 1995. And for silence during Hitler's final solution, or Shoah, as well as, in 1999, coming in just under the Millennium Jubilee wire, an apology for the burning alive in the main square of Prague of the great Czech Protestant Jan Hus. But remember, this is from a church that, on the whole, cannot err. We still await a more direct admission. For example, I give some suggestions of my own while we're at it. I would like them to take back the Concordat made with Adolf Hitler, the first treaty he ever signed, giving the church a monopoly over education in Germany in exchange for the dissolution of the Catholic Centre Party.
Can you see Christopher Hitchens? He didn't just give opinions. He gave facts. He can list off facts after facts after facts. I'm yet to see a single fact or piece of evidence to prove the existence of a god.
To give the Nazi Party a clear run. I'd have apologized for the Lateran Pact with Mussolini, myself, also the first treaty ever signed by that fascist dictator. I would also think I'd want to reconsider the fact that Father Tiso, head of the Nazi puppet state in Slovakia, was a priest in holy orders. That the Croatian fascist puppet state, the Ustaša state of Ante Pavelic, was also operating under full clerical protection and disguise, as was the regime of General Franco and the dictator Antonio.
You can also see Stephen Fry is debating here, who's also quite a strong atheist debater as well. But he's a fan. What an intelligent man as well, Stephen Fry is.
Salazar, and I'd also I really think I would beg forgiveness for this. I don't think the German church should have asked Hitler's birthday to be celebrated from the pulpit every year until he died. These are very serious matters, and they're not to be laughed off by references to the occasional work of Catholic charities. But I draw your attention not just to the apologies, ladies and gentlemen, but to the evasive and euphemistic form that they take. Joseph Ratzinger, the current Pope, considered by some, by Catholics, to be the Vicar of Christ on earth, says of Indians, of the Indians who were massacred in the course of conversion in Brazil, after the apology had been made to them, he said, nonetheless, it must be remembered that before we came to convert them, they were silently awaiting the arrival of the church. I don't think that's a very genuine kind of apology to you. In his comment, one of the few he's made, on the institutionalization of rape and torture and maltreatment of children in Catholic institutions, he has said, it's a very severe crisis which involves us, he said, in the following: in the need for applying to these victims the most loving pastoral care. Well, I'm sorry, they've already had that. And to say that this is the responsibility laid upon you by the horrific
This one is a long,
mission that you
very
made
long
to make
hitch slap.
is not accepting responsibility in any adult sense. I think that there will be an apology for what happened in Rwanda, the most Catholic country in Africa, one of the most Catholic countries in the world, where priests and nuns and bishops are on trial for inciting from their pulpits and on the church's radio stations and newspapers the massacre of their brothers and sisters. And the papacy was silent on this appalling
What can you say?
occasion. And everyone in Rwanda knows it. And there hasn't yet been a properly written apology for that disgrace.
We'll leave it there. Like I said, Christopher Hitchens, rest in peace. What a great man. What a debater. He debated with facts and truths. He gave his opinions, but he backed them up. He was a fantastic man. Now, whether or not you agree, disagree, that's fine. That's fine. But you can't disagree with facts. Guys, if you enjoyed the reaction to this sort of video, the atheist sort of video, the debating, let me know. I can do more. There's plenty of fantastic clips. Let me know, guys, in the comments. Have a good day, and I'll catch you soon. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Cheers.